Okay, my name is Dee. I am a compulsive eater living in recovery because I have found a solution that works one day at a time. I weigh and measure 3 meals a day from the copyrighted grey sheet. I write down my chosen breakfast, lunch, and dinner and commit that to my sponsor and have nothing in between those meals but black coffee, tea, or diet soda. This is the definition of my abstinence and is the most important thing I do on a daily basis. I'm a bit on a downward track on an emotional roller coaster at the moment, which I know will pass. But until it does, I've chosen to write out what I wanted to share today, so I stay on track. So forgive me that I'm reading from a script, but it's from the heart. I was reading in the AA Big Book about there being a solution, and part of my new mantra is the fact that I'm living in the solution on a daily basis. And for me, grey sheet abstinence is that solution. And the AA Big Book says there is a tremendous fact for every one of us that we have discovered a common solution. And in our case, it's GreySheeters Anonymous. We have a way out on which we can absolutely agree and upon which we can join in harmonious action. But what about me, Dee, as a compulsive eater? I may have started off as a moderate eater. I may or may not have become a continuous compulsive eater and dieter. But at some stage of my eating career, I began to lose all control of my food consumption once I started to eat sugar, flour, or wheat. Here I am, a fellow who has been puzzled for years, especially by my lack of control. I did absurd, incredible, tragic things whilst compulsively overeating and dieting. I've tried Weight Watchers, Slimming World, Cambridge Food Replacement Plan, Slim Fast, Sugar Lovers Diet, Low GI Diet, the Keto Diet, the Low Fat Diet, the Calorie Control Diet, the Fast 800, the eating once a day or twice a day or not at all, and then binging and feeling ill and hating myself for having no willpower and lack of self-control. I took laxatives, I tried to throw up, I went from overweight to obese, but not obese enough to qualify for surgery, so I felt cheated even in that. I've thrown out and rebought the same diet books over and over again, even burning them and burying the ash in the garden as a form of symbolic spiritual act to kind of hand it over to God. Any of the above brought me long-term solutions. Neither did prayer, fasting, or being prayed for by those with a healing ministry. I was at the very end of any lasting hope of a solution and ready to take my own life as my mind became more and more obsessed, and I'd go to sleep to quieten the voices in my head. But the moment I woke, the noise would start again, and I dreaded going to the kitchen where I would not know if I started to eat, if I'd be able to stop. My head was so full of conflicting information, I literally could not think straight. I'd be so dosed up on the drug of my choice that I'd slur my words and be constantly tired or in a bad mood. The internal poison of my head began to get into my thoughts about myself and others, and I was turning into someone I neither liked nor recognised. I trusted no one, didn't believe my husband when he said he just wanted me well. I just thought he didn't want me fat. I stopped trusting myself, others, and was and still am a little disillusioned with my faith in God. I went to see one of the doctors at my GP surgery who suggested that everyone overeats from time to time and that I should only go out for a slab of something sugary if I was out having coffee with a friend. So I chose never to speak to my GPs at the surgery again. That took about 15 years before I went back and asked to be referred to an eating disorder clinic and was officially diagnosed with a binge eating disorder. My compulsive overeating took me in the form of constant grazing throughout the day. The quantity throughout the day gradually rather than at one sitting. I wasn't a lot of consumption at once. It would just be continuous throughout the day. I couldn't tell you where breakfast began, lunch started, or dinner finished because I woke up, I started eating. I was constantly back and forth to the kitchen. If anything, I was willing people to leave the room so I could eat. I had food stuffed down the side of chairs, in my dressing gown pocket, in the car, even in the bathroom, stuffed into a box. I've gone to have a bath before so I could eat frozen items and eat a whole frozen item in the bath, surrounded by the bits that dripped into the bath, getting out pretending I'd had this wonderful soak And it was actually a place where I could lock the door and know that no one would come in, so I could eat with freedom. Well, I didn't get the help I'd hoped for at the eating disorder clinic, as food addiction was not recognised as a real issue. And everything they said to me, I kept comparing with what I'd learnt in GreySheet. By then, I'd been spoiled to find anything else that compared with GreySheet, but I wanted to do anything but return to GreySheet, which I'd first found in 2008. I came back into recovery on the 6th of April 2020 after several under-the-wire attempts to do GreySheet again. I didn't let many people know I was back, either out of pride or anger, with an attitude of I'll show them, wanting to be triumphant in telling certain GreySheeters I'd got to 90 days, as if people were against me instead of for me, something I still struggle with through feeling I've been down this road too many times to be fully accepted back, which is all part of the rubbish of this disease. I came back on the 6th of April 2020, knowing that GreySheet is the only thing that has constantly worked for me. It is a solution I didn't want to come back to because I knew it meant giving up any thought of ever being a normal eater, and I could no longer dream about or grieve the foods that we cannot eat because my body is incapable of having them and remaining free of all the mental, physical, and emotional suffering being a compulsive eater causes. Since April, I've been regularly attending Zoom meetings because COVID has meant face-to-face are difficult, and there are no face-to-face meetings near me in Dorset. These have been my lifeline, and I do believe this has been the thing that has enabled me to get nearly a year's back-to-back abstinence, which I've never had in the whole of this journey. And it will be part of my recovery journey after COVID has passed. The food is down, and the recovery of the spiritual and emotional damage can begin. You cannot have one without the other, and I believe it's almost impossible to be free from this addiction without addressing the threefold nature of the disease. Food down first, then tackle the rest. I previously put the food down but didn't deal with any of the rest. I was like a three-legged stool balancing on one leg of recovery, so it's no wonder I toppled when life pressed down on the wobbly legs of my spiritual or emotional health. So I'm going to say what the danger signs were that led me to relapsing, because I never want to fall into this trap again. Firstly, I was thinking I don't have much of a problem. I don't really have a problem with sugar, flour and wheat, but everybody else has got a problem and maybe it's not so bad for me. I felt that I could follow this plan without a sponsor. I'd been in for long enough to know the food plan. I didn't need to hand it over to a sponsor. The GreySheet doesn't come without a sponsor for a reason. It doesn't work without a sponsor. It's not a diet, it's a way of life. And I need to be responsible to a sponsor because I can't trust myself. I've proven that over too many years. And I just have to hand it over on a daily basis. Before now, I've left because I said I don't need to do service, don't need to have meetings, I don't need to do anything. I just need to commit my food. If I don't do service, I'm out of here, out the back door. I think I don't need to make relationships. Actually, if I don't make relationships, I do go out the back door because I think nobody's going to miss me and I'm not going to miss them. Again, that's a lie of this disease. I think I don't need to be in contact with others in fellowship. However, now I have got a small circle of friends I can outreach to, even on the days when I can't speak because of my own mental and emotional health issues, that I can actually reach out to them. And we found a way to communicate that works when I'm in a downward spiral. My default is to run away and hide, and I need to keep turning up. I must always ask my sponsor about food choices without thinking I don't need to ask. I'm sure I know. I know nothing. I believe I do need to follow the steps because I have a faith model. No, I'm sorry. I used to believe I didn't used to follow the steps because I had faith. Well, I need to put my faith in the steps and do them on a daily basis. I had this wrong belief that I didn't need to attend meetings regularly. I believe I didn't have to say in my journey when things were dreadful, I used to have to say, I'm absent and I'm grateful. Some days I'm absent and I'm not grateful. Some days I'm absent, I'm in a bloody bad mood. But I weigh and measure my meals 3 times a day off the GreySheet, whether I'm happy, joyous or free, whether I'm down in the dumps and I don't want to see anybody, my 3 weighed and measured meals a day is the one constant that I can rely on. I used to think I couldn't be bothered, that some evenings I think, oh, do I have to weigh and measure? Now, whatever I feel like, I weigh and measure my meals ready for the next day. I make sure my cupboard is full of food. I make sure I've got spare scales all over the place. I make sure I've got backup. I make sure I've done things
10
in
minutes.
advance. Thank you. And I've chosen not to keep my recovery a secret. I don't share what other people are doing. I keep everybody else's abstinence, their not their abstinence, their anonymity. But for me, I have to just say up front, I have a problem with food. I have to hear myself say it. I have to hear myself say that this is saving my life on a daily basis. And I have to make it clear to everyone that this is life and death and is not about my looks or my clothing size. This is not yet another diet. This is a daily solution, and it's the only thing that has ever worked for me. Basically, I don't want to need people. I don't want to admit I need help. Some days it's difficult to open my mouth to speak. Today is difficult because I'm going through a no matter what with my mental and emotional health right now. But if I turn up, if I say how it was, how it is now, and share my journey as it is right now, this might help someone else who thinks and feels this way and thinks that this may be just them. I belong here because I'm a compulsive eater, and I belong here because I need help. And I know that without you and without GreySheet and without the recovery program, I would be 6 foot under right now, because it took me to the place where I didn't want to carry on. And now I do have a hope and I do have a solution. And I am very grateful for GreySheet and for those that have gone before me and continue to do service. Because without that, I wouldn't have found GreySheet. And if it hadn't have been for the GreySheet website and Googling help for compulsive overeaters, I would not have found GreySheet. So all those areas of service are so vital. And I'm very thankful for everybody that does service and for the people that have set up this meeting, because it's really helped me through COVID. And I don't believe I would have come back to GreySheet and be where I am now if it weren't for these Zoom meetings. So thank you.